that sound that says we're on. Richard, good
Well,
morning.
good morning to you, Bradley. How are you?
I'm all right. I did tell you before not to use that full version of my name.
I know you did. I just disobeyed you. I'm sorry.
I love the fact that you take feedback so well. How are you?
I'm all right, actually. I'm more than all right. It's Monday today, isn't it? It's Monday, the 1st of June, so the first official day of summer. And here in the UK, it's just been an amazing month. It's been the driest and the warmest month on record. So that's got lots of positive, but also not so nice consequences because of it. But just being able to be outside, feel the sun on your back, and be with family. It's been a great weekend. What about yourself?
Good as well. I kind of feel as though we're welcoming people to another scintillating version of the lockdown sessions.
Oh, my goodness.
Where we riff on no topic at all and see where it takes us. But yes, nice weekend, relaxing. I'm loving the sunshine. The world always looks nicer and cleaner and fresher when there's sunshine in the sky, and it looks a little bit blue out of my window. I was thinking as we kind of approached our chat today and thinking about last time when we talked about what we had observed and noticed in ourselves. And I wondered today if we could kind of continue in that vein. And I was interested in, when we observe those things in ourselves last time, do you observe those things in others that you've been speaking to? Do you notice a deeper level of self-reflection, a deeper level of self-awareness in people, or do you see other kind of behaviors coming out during this enforced entrenchment that we're all in?
Yeah, good question. Well, day 71 of lockdown for us, and I said that last night to the kids. I said, it's day 70 today on Sunday. And I said, wow. My youngest, Lizzie, who's 22, she said, oh my goodness, I can't believe it's that long. Am I recognizing it in others? Well, obviously we're not seeing other people as much as we would do face to face and in the flesh, but we're still seeing lots of people virtually. And I am actually noticing, people have spotted things. And they do notice themselves, but I'm also noticing, as various parts of the world are ahead of the curve from where we are in the UK, and some of those are after the before the curve. So depending on where you are in the world, people are. The thing that's really grabbing my attention is snapping back to some old practice. And this has really sort of got me thinking about what do I want to hold on to that I've learned during these 70 odd days that I really want to nurture and look after and really treat as precious, as like little gifts in my pocket that I'm going to look after, as opposed to falling back into old ways. And I'm struggling actually to nurture some of those. So I need to almost write them down and make them come more relevant or forefront of my mind is where I am actually. What about yourself? What are you noticing?
I'm noticing a newfound appreciation of life, freedoms. I have a dear friend who lives in the beautiful island of Ibiza. And he sent me some video this weekend of just him wading through the sea on one of our favorite beaches that we like to walk on together when we're there together. And he said to me, he's experiencing the island, what it must have been like in the 70s. No one's really there. It's quiet. There aren't drunk people falling out of clubs. There's just native people walking around enjoying the nature of the island, the energy of the island. And he said in his sort of messaging to me, I wonder how long it will last, with exclamation marks rather than question marks. And so this is something I'm noticing. People are appreciating the small things, but it begs the question, how long would it last? Because I'm noticing in the wider population, everyone seems to be rushing back to how things used to be. And they're not maybe asking that question, do you really want to rush back to that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as you know, I live in the Peak District, the first national park of the UK, and I'm a real passionate outdoors sort of person. I love the outdoors and I love the wilderness of the national park, but it's the second busiest national park in the world outside of Mount Fuji. And I absolutely am a massive, strong supporter of, right to roam and open access, and people who don't live in this environment, that they can actually come and appreciate it. And over these last 70 days, being able to get out into that countryside where others haven't been able to, I would absolutely concur with your friend. Going on the beaches. Yeah, the wildlife has been amazing. Seeing hares and rabbits skipping around. I saw a stoat the other day running across the road. I had grouse flying over, about 6 foot over the top of my head as coming off the moorland. Absolutely amazing. And yet this weekend, we've had 10 fire alerts and fire engines going out from disposable barbecues, lighting, accidents happening, and fly tipping, and lots of broken glass from people coming out and having a good time, but then abusing it. And I have this yin and yang of, I love people coming out and experiencing it, but then pushing it a little bit too far, or in some experiences far too far. And that is, I'm sensing sort of this yin and yang of please come, but also feeling a little bit annoyed about it. So this snap back, how do we stop people snapping back into old ways? And I was speaking to a client this morning, and they were sort of getting slightly frustrated because they are already sensing in their organization a management desire to see them going into the office in certain places, which is something that, should we not be grabbing the opportunity of more remote working, giving people more trust to do the work that they're doing from a place that is more convenient, so they don't have to travel, and all of those added advantages that we notice. I don't know if you're seeing that with clients that you're working with.
That last thing you said there really lands with me, because I know from just some of the coaching conversations I've had with my guys over the last few months, so clients, a lot of those conversations have been about how do we lean into trust during this time. Suddenly you're a virtual team leader, and you've been co-located or co-connected in teams, and then suddenly everyone's at home. And this concept of leaning into trust, it seems like a new concept for a lot of leaders, actually. This idea, and perhaps your phrase of snapping back, it would be for me frightening if we do just snap back into this kind of very micro-oriented management of task and don't appreciate. So for me, one of these key learnings that I'm trying to hold on to of these 70 odd days is the fact that the world has come to realize that you can really be very productive working from home. And to me, this is not new, because I've worked from home for 25 plus years. But now all my clients are recognizing, actually, we can be productive. People get things done. If you actually trust them, if you give them the environment and the space to deliver, the majority of people want to do a really good job. They don't want to sit at home and just watch TV. I'm sure there are some who sit on the spectrum who are quite happy being furloughed and don't really want to go back into work and will cite their security and health as reasons to not. But the majority of people want to work, want to deliver, want to have that self-esteem of feeling that they're accomplishing something. And I just wonder if maybe one of the lessons all leaders could try and hold on to before snapping back is how they've learned to really trust their teams in the last few months to keep business going. Because businesses have kept going. I know some have struggled and some won't make it. And for those individuals and businesses and people, I feel sad for. But a lot of businesses have not just kept going, some have even thrived. And maybe if we snap back straight into coming and lighting barbecues on the heath, we're going to snap straight back into starting to call our people and say, hey, what you up to? And that, hey, what you up to doesn't ring true as in, how are you? It sounds like, what are you doing? Would be for me, that would be a real shame.
Yeah, totally and utterly. I mean, the whole thing about trust is you know, it's one of the super ingredients, isn't it, of a high performing team. And you know, I as being a bit of a control freak myself, I always try and think, well, what can I do to start with? Because I think you get the behavior you model to a certain extent. So if I'm a control freak as a manager and a leader of my organization, how can I start modeling the trust that I actually want and some of the behaviors that I want to see in other people? Well, first of all, I've got to actually believe that I don't need to be at the office all of the time and be there until the boss has gone home and then go home. Actually, I need to believe that, first of all. And then I've really got to try and identify helpful behaviors, encouraging behaviors, authentic behaviors that support and develop trust. If I can then model those, people start to feel it's all right to be like that. So it's very easy for us to point at systems and organizations and other people who model the wrong type of behaviors. And that sometimes it's quite nice to point out where other people's failures are, of course. But I always try when I'm being the best person I am, is to actually start with holding a mirror up to myself and saying, when am I actually picking up the phone and actually asking those questions? Not really for asking that question, but checking. Or how am I modeling the sort of behaviors that I espouse? And sometimes actually saying something and doing something is quite hard to do. So coming back to this snapback, you know, it's what will you be doing in terms of helping you capture and hold on to the wonderful things that have been the unintended positive things that have come out of this experience? How are you going to stop yourself swinging back?
I love that question. We were running a virtual team session with a client last week, and we posed this question in a breakout room. We actually invited this group of leaders to come up with a set of ideas of how they were going to make sure that the feelings people had that they had created during lockdown could continue when they started to bring some people back in to the office. And it was interesting what came up, because it lands with me of, well, you know, when you're saying, so what can I do? What can I model? And actually, when I think about my team and that leaning in to trust, actually the questions that I'm always thinking about now is, actually, I've learned that I don't need to be all the time omnipresent everywhere. Actually, learning to get comfortable with not being the expert in everything. This morning, You and I have talked about a client of mine where I was looking to extract myself. And this morning I wrote an email to my connection there, introducing my change management expert to pull them together to look at the next project that they're dealing with. So now totally extricated. And I had a real smile on my face as I was leaving a recorded WhatsApp message for my guy, Jose, and saying, hey, Jose, listen, I just pinged you. If you're on email, you'd have seen it. Listen, Marina will reach out to you and connect, and then we can chat about what your ideas are. Oh, and it felt great. This idea of actually not having to be there all the time. And I think when you say, what are you going to do to make sure you don't sort of snap back? Actually, I'm holding myself to account. When you talk about words and actions, I said, I'm not going to do this anymore. I like doing that now. And I've held myself to account. And it feels not just cathartic and a little bit liberating, it feels really positive.
Brilliant. Yeah. You're so right. I mean, I'm a great believer of, we can have all these wonderful thoughts and ideas and desires and wishes, but actually our likelihood of achieving them goes up massively if we set ourselves a goal. It sets ourselves a task, an example. So you talking about your example there is an absolute practical thing where you've identified something that you see as an opportunity, is to actually delegate and actually hand over potentially to somebody who could, dare I say it, might even do a better job, an amazing job, right? We love Jose. He's gonna absolutely rock it. So that obviously gives you all the advantages of not having to get involved. It allows him to go off and do that. But the practical example of you saying, here is a client, here is something that I'm going to practice. When am I going to do it? Who with? And then making it happen. Then we actually start to appreciate the upside of it. So I think that initiative, that idea into action is key. And that's something that I'm going to try and do. Following this meeting, following this session, I'm going to think of 3 things, 3 behaviors or things that I actually want to hold on to. And I'm going to write an action for each one of those to practice, helping me keeping those snapback opportunities, safe. And I'm going to practice those. And they can be small things, can't they? They can be tiny little ones. So that's what I'm going to do.
I like that, because I think it is respectful to yourself. Actually, one of the things that I've observed, we touched on it last time, is I've enjoyed family time, not working all hours. And not because I'm enforced to work all hours. Sometimes I quite enjoy pulling those long shifts, but actually making time to stop at 5 o'clock and the world doesn't crash because I'm not in the office.
Yeah.
And I can watch a Netflix sort of box set or an Amazon Prime movie with the family, or make dinner together in the kitchen, whatever it might be. And actually, when we talk about snapping back, it's not just about the work for me. It's actually about the life work balance. I sense with people I've spoken to, with the numerous Zoom calls that I've been on with friends or with family members, extended family, that people are enjoying actually time to do things.
Yeah.
I know there's stressful moments without question in families when we're all stuck in one place together. But because
I think that's fantastic. So if we start with ourselves and we start with these things and we start with an action, we can then prevent those snapback opportunities. And I think it's, even, after watching the absolutely horrific news that we're presented that is coming out of the US with the George Floyd case. You know, sometimes I feel overwhelmed by these enormous, great big challenging situations, be it that or be it global warming or COVID. And I think we each need to, in a small micro way, need to make a stand, need to make an action. There was a wonderful point of view that I heard on the radio this morning, and it was around racism. And it was somebody talking about it's no good just to sit on the sidelines and say you're not a racist. You need to be an active anti-racist. So no good for me, you know, white, stale, male, middle-class guy. No good for me just to say and think that I'm not a racist if I'm not actually proving that with some sort of action. And that was quite provocative to me, and really made me think about it. You know, think about some of my unconscious biases and those sorts of things. And, you know, so that these big things can feel overwhelming. But if we come back to self and actually start to think, okay, what can I do? What can I do that I'm going to model in some small way? I think those butterfly wings of lots of people doing these things will stop that snapback, and it will we can overcome these big challenging situations that the world face. And this is, I think, one of the big things that I've noticed is that we're all one human race. Of course we are, and actually together we need to do something that's bigger together, and collaborate more and work through difference and embrace difference and all of that sort of wonderful stuff.
I don't always feel as though the world behaves in a way that seems to embrace that form of collaboration as much as perhaps we should. I work with a number of high-tech companies who live in the open source world. And this is the world, you know, it's not closed software, it's open, which means everything is free. You pay a license, but everything is free. And let's just share it, because by collaboration, we just have more.
Yeah.
My entire business model is based on an open source model.
Yeah.
So through collaboration, we achieve much more. And yet, I've noticed, even in my local village, there is still that feeling of protectionism, isolationism, as many isms as I could probably sort of raise now, where maybe the kick up the backside that this could have been to wake us up to, we are one human race. We do just need to collaborate. Let's not just snap straight back into managing our teams and driving performance and making sure that people are in the office at 7 o'clock in the morning. You know, I'm the expert. I need to know everything. I'm the boss. Oh, wow. Can we not just pause and just reflect? So my observation to what you're saying is, are we reflecting enough? Are there enough individuals stopping and reflecting to create this consciousness amongst us that actually can help, not just snapping back so that we all just go back to how it was? Because I don't know if it was that pretty.
I totally agree, but I'm an optimist. I'm an optimist. I'm a glass half full sort of person, and I can't help but thinking, you know, even if the two of us are not prepared to snap back, but everybody else in the whole wide world is, right? That's a better place. And of course, it's not as if I've just had this conversation with you. I'm having it with loads of people. They're sort of feeling a bit frustrated that they're going back and what they're going to do about it, and you know, and what could they do differently. And I'm heartened. I'm heartened by people really noticing the opportunities to do things differently. But I also know that we're as humans, we're lazy. We like the easiest course. We like to work things through. So I think, just to label it again, is what I'm going to do is start with self. And I would advocate all those people who are interested in actually, holding on to the precious lessons that we've learned over the last 71 days, is to put an action in place, is to turn initiative into action, and then talk about it and model it. That way we can ignite these insights that we've had, and we can role model them. So I think, you and me and our, organizations where we talk to leaders in large, enormous global organizations, we have a responsibility to be challenging organizations and being provocative to organizations, and showcasing the benefits of doing this and trying to hold them to account, because most of these organizations say the right thing on the website, don't they?
Well, yeah, values suggest that that's exactly how they operate. But you're right. I think maybe it's down to us to get out and talk to these leaders and provocatively challenge them to challenge their process, and start with self, take ideas and initiatives and drive them into action. I like the phrase of, initiative into action.
I mean, I haven't seen any organization saying we're going to snap back into old ways. I haven't heard. Everybody is wanting to look after these precious moments. So there we go. Look, I think we've covered a fair bit of ground in this little chit chat. How do you feel?
It's a nice pause moment. Let's see what lockdown reflections bring us next time.
Fantastic.
Richard,
Brad, great to see you. Speak to you next week.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks, Richard. See you later.